Traefik. If you're self-hosting a lot of services in your Homelab, then sooner or later you will come up with a service that will require a secure connection to function properly. Like if you're hosting Jitsi for calls or using voice commands in Home Assistant from a browser, these services will not work without HTTPS. But with Traefik, you can assign a domain name to each of your service, which will not only save you from remembering each IP address and port number to access them, but you will also be able to generate a valid SSL certificate using Let's Encrypt. Then use this domain to access your local services only from inside your local network. Even though we already did something similar using Nginx Proxy Manager, but Traefik makes the entire process really simple using Docker labels and also offers some really cool extra features, for which everyone prefers to self-host Traefik. Only problem is the process of setting it up looks a little bit complicated. But still, if you compare the features Traefik offers, like auto-renewing your SSL certificate every 90 days, or setting up middlewares to make the setup more secure, the complication feels worth it. But nothing to worry, we are going to break everything into really simple steps. In this video, we are going to deploy Traefik using Docker. Then in the following videos, we will generate the SSL certificate using Let's Encrypt, and then see how we can use that SSL for other local services in our Homelab. By the end of this series, you will have complete working Traefik setup for your local services. And you will also have a detailed understanding of different configurations we can set up using Traefik. We will cover most of the features we might require in a Homelab. But before we start, we will need a valid domain for this setup. If you do not have one yet, you can purchase one from any domain provider, and then we will use it later to generate the SSL certificate. For now, let's get started with the first step, which is deploying Traefik. So log into the device you want to use. In my case, I'll be using an Ubuntu VM, and I'm already connected to it using VS Code's remote SSH. And as we will be hosting Traefik using Docker, make sure it is installed. I already have it set up. So let's proceed with creating the files. As we will be working with multiple files, so to avoid any confusion later, we will properly organize all of our files from the beginning itself. Let's create a directory for keeping all the Docker Compose files. And inside that, let me create a separate directory for Traefik. Here, we will create our Docker Compose file. You can definitely modify this directory structure as per your setup. I am just following this for now, as we will be working with multiple Docker Compose files for different scenarios. With that done, let's move on to our Docker Compose file. Here, we will begin by defining the services section and mention the Traefik service. Now, the first thing we need is the Docker image. For that, we can simply go to Google and search for Traefik Docker. From the search results, open the link from Docker Hub. This will take us to the official Docker image for Traefik. Now, instead of directly copying the latest tag, I prefer to lock the version. If you see here, the latest tag currently points to version 3.6.6. But the image tag in the Docker pull command is different. So to get that exact version, we can expand the recent tags field under tag summary. And here you can see we have this version 3.6.6. Just select this, and the pull command will be updated. Now let's copy this image tag to our Docker Compose file. Next, let's give our container a name. Then let me define the ports. Here, map port 8080 from the host to port 8080 of the container. We will use this port to access the Traefik dashboard until we generate the SSL certificate. Now let's define the volumes section. We will be providing the configuration for Traefik using a config file, so let's attach it to this container. Our configuration file will be located inside a config directory next to our Docker Compose file. And we will name this file as traefik.yml. Now, inside the container, we will map this file to etc/Traefik directory. Then, inside this directory, we will map it to traefik.yml file. Do not confuse the Traefik directory and traefik.yml file, as the name is same. There is one more thing. Here we do not want the container to make any changes to this file. So let's add ro at the end, which will attach this file to this container in read-only mode. Then finally, let's add a restart policy and set it to unless stopped. For now, that is all we need to do in the Docker Compose file. But before we bring the container up, we do need to create this configuration file. So as per our path defined in the volume section, we need to create a config directory, and inside that create the traefik.yml file. We also need to add some configuration here to access the dashboard or even view some logs. If you remember in the Docker Compose file, we have exposed the ports where we can view the Traefik dashboard, but for that to actually show up, we need to enable it here. So inside this file, start by defining API, followed by a colon. Then below that, we will mention dashboard and set it to true. This will expose our dashboard, but at this stage, we are not using any SSL. So we also need to mention another parameter, which is insecure, and set it to true. This will allow us to access the dashboard over HTTP without any valid SSL. Now let's check if we did everything properly up to this point. At this stage, if we deploy Traefik, we should be able to access the dashboard. So let's go to the terminal and navigate to the Traefik directory where our Docker Compose file is located. Here, if we run the command docker compose up-d, this should pull the Traefik image and run the container in the background. Now let's check if everything is working as expected. For that, launch a browser. To visit the Traefik dashboard, we need to provide the server IP, followed by the port number. And it looks like we did everything correctly up to this point. If you're not able to access the dashboard, recheck your setup and you should be able to fix it. Once you are able to access the dashboard, only then move forward. Because if this part is not working, nothing else will work ahead of this. Now let's add some more configuration to our Traefik setup. Head back to the traefik.yml file and add a global section. Here we can configure global setting for this Traefik instance. One thing that we can do is mention send anonymous usage and set it to false. This will restrict sending our usage metrics to Traefik. Then, as I mentioned before, without adding the configuration, we will not even be able to view any logs. If we try to view the logs right now for this Traefik container, you can see this displays nothing. But during our setup, we will need to view the logs. Without that, we cannot even identify if something is wrong. So to enable the logs, we need to define a log section. And below that, we can define the level. We can set this value to debug, which will provide us detailed logs during the setup. Now to apply these changes, we can save this file and then restart the container. Restarting will pull the latest configuration from this file. Now if we check the logs again, we should be able to view the details of what is happening inside the container. So now we have successfully deployed Traefik with Docker. And we have also created a config file for this instance. Let me know your thoughts regarding this setup in the comment section. In case if you are facing any issues, you can also mention it in the comments, or you can join my Discord server and bring it up there. You will find all these codes on my GitHub profile as well. Now we can move on to the next step using the current setup. You can click on this next video to see how can we generate the SSL certificate using Let's Encrypt. Also, don't forget to like and share this video if you feel it was simple and helpful. That will help me to understand if these videos are really helping you out. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.